Coming up on the 30-minute news, the earliest significant snowfall in history inundates the Albany area. Almost all of our program will be devoted to information about the storm and the problems it has caused. It even had an effect on the Wiley Gates trial. We'll have information on that and a lot more coming up next on the 30-minute news.
This is WNYT, Albany. Joe Moskowitz, meteorologist Norm Sebastian, and Roger Weiland on sports. This is the 30-minute news.
Good evening. Today would have been a great day to stay inside and watch a good football game. Unfortunately, there weren't any good games and not many people have electricity. The Capital Region spent the day attempting to cope with a major snowstorm early in October. The winter wonderland was one of thousands of downed trees, knocking down power lines, leaving as many as 200,000 Niagara Mohawk customers without electricity. The extremely heavy snow caused other problems, like at this house on 4th Street in Troy. A tree falling caused the back of the house to cave in. The man who lives there was working at the time. Father Walter Baniak was saying Mass, but John Malpass witnessed it.
Standing right over there in the corner, and I heard this big crash from the tree falling. And I just ran over, and then I seen the whole house fall.
Major and minor thoroughfares were impassable, and you couldn't just fly away from it all. No planes were coming in or out of the Albany County Airport. In addition to the snowy, windy conditions, there was no electricity. The airport is in Colony. 90% of the town is without power. An emergency plan was put into place so people can call for shelter and/or transportation.
But I've got to believe in all the years that I've been here, I've never seen anything quite as bad as this. We had an ice storm back in the middle 60s, so that created a lot of damage, but my own assessment of it is probably going to be the worst we've ever had, at least in my memory.
In addition to Colony, Nassau and Schodack are among the many other communities declaring disasters. The airport has since been reopened. Now, if you need shelter, heat, or transportation in Colony, call 783-2809. Columbia, Greene, and Washington counties have declared states of emergency. Now, the people who live in Columbia County already know it's a disaster. 2 people were killed, one in Chatham, one in Copake, as a result of weather-related accidents. Virtually the entire county is without electricity. 2 major transmission lines snapped under the weight. Niagara Mohawk crews are doing the best they can, but it may be Tuesday at the very earliest before full power is restored. If you were planning on just passing through until about 5:30 this afternoon, you couldn't on the Berkshire spur of the Thruway. It was closed until then. Throughout the area, emergency workers have been flooded with calls. Many departments have called us to stress that they're available to help anyone who needs it, but they're asking for no calls that are not vital. There are reports of several accidents that may or may not be weather-related. In Colony, for example, authorities have told us of a hit-and-run fatality on Route 155 overnight, but at this point, they just don't have the time to pass along more information. And at the height of the storm, Niagara Mohawk says almost 171,000 customers were without power, over 100,000 right in our immediate area. Julie Fusella reports NYMO crews are working frantically, but it's going to be a while before all power's back.
Troy storm to 11027.
It was organized confusion at Niagara Mohawk's dispatch center today as the storm board highlighted areas that had lost power.
This kind of storm is one of the worst kinds of storms that we can get. First of all, you have all the leaves on the trees, and the wet snow gets on it. It ladens everything down, breaks an awful lot of tree limbs, and takes the power lines down as it goes.
Several areas are back online this evening, but for residents of Columbia County, the hardest hit, it could be more than a day before NYMO can restore power. In any emergency, Niagara Mohawk must first be concerned with life and death. The power went out here at Leonard Hospital in Troy at 8:12 this morning, and while Leonard has an emergency backup, NYMO gives hospitals top priority. The lobby of Leonard Hospital was barely lit, but it was business as usual on patient floors.
There is no interruption in service because we have automatic generators and equipment that trigger their own response to a power outage.
Niagara Mohawk even has an emergency plan for housebound patients on life support systems or respirators. Their homes are labeled with orange dots on these maps. When power goes out, they are also given top priority.
If the lines are out and it's going to require an extensive amount of time to get them back, we even try to find portable generators to get in there.
Julie Fusella, the 30-Minute News.
Now, with so many thousands of people without electricity, we sent Julie right back out to see how some of the people are coping.
What are you doing without electricity?
Nothing. It's getting colder. It's about 56 degrees inside the house now, and I'm waiting for the power to come back on.
It's almost warmer out here?
Yeah, that's why we came outside. I think it's a little warmer outside.
That is what we miss most of all, is not being able to have a cup of coffee. But at this point, believe it or not, we have made several phone calls to Stewart's, to the bagel store, to Hoffman's, looking for a cup of coffee.
Have you found one?
No.
Well, late this afternoon, Albany Mayor Thomas Whalen declared the city a disaster. The state has pledged assistance, and now the city is asking help from its residents. Primarily, just be careful. And if you're in need of shelter or any emergency assistance, contact the Albany Police Department at the Traffic Safety Division or the Albany Department of Public Works. Now, the size of the storm wasn't expected, but the snowfall was not a complete surprise to our meteorologists. Herb Stevens is in to talk about why we got belted with this freak snowfall. Herb.
Well, Joe, I think I'm going to save the explanation for why until the regular weather segment about 10 minutes from now, but I want to put this storm in perspective. The earliest previous measurable snowfall at the Albany County Airport occurred on October 10th in the year 1925. At that time, there was a ½ inch of snow. Today, officially at the airport, 6½ inches of snow. Central and eastern New England had a rainy day. The western Mohawk Valley, the Finger Lakes, and the rest of the state had a sunny day. In the middle, though, what a day. 16 inches of snow at Mariahville Lake, 12 inches in Bern, only 2 inches around Amsterdam. Gilboa in the Catskills, 19 inches of snow. Windham, 15 inches. Poughkeepsie had an inch. Northwestern corner of Connecticut, 6 inches. About 6 inches fell around Hillsdale on the Massachusetts border. North Greenbush, about 8 inches of snow. Berlin, 13 inches of snow. Schenectady, Bennington checked in with about 10 inches of snow. And there's about a foot of snow in the Green Mountains, the central Green Mountains, the higher elevations down in the valleys, just 4 or 5 inches of snow. And Glens Falls had about a trace of snow. They had a little snow mixed in with a little rain. This was a freak, a small freak. And I'll tell you why it happened coming up in about 10 minutes, and I'll have the forecast. And I know you'll like it better than what we've got.
Have to, of course, as we said, there were problems in all directions from the Capital District. Steve Scoville and photographer Gene Kendrick Sr. found that out firsthand as they headed west for storm coverage.
The snowstorm took a heavy toll on traffic flow. Past Waynesburg on the way into Schoharie County, the major interstate was hit hard. This is Route I-88 westbound. I'm standing right in the middle of it. Traffic is essentially at a standstill. The driving here is treacherous. 6 to 8 inches of snow on the roadway. We made our way around several jackknife tractor trailers, but we're still stuck here. There's a traffic problem farther up the road. The tractor trailers would tie up traffic here for at least 3 hours, and if the accidents weren't enough to cause the problems, the sheer amount of snow on the highway was.
Well, it's kind of just congested. They got a truck down up there, and people were abandoning their cars up there, and he left it in the middle there, and he's gone, so they're now just towing it away, and they're trying to get by this big truck that's up there.
For those waiting to get moving and hoping they could move at all, it was an uneasy morning.
I was heading towards Summit, but my next exit is going to be off of here. This is crazy.
But there was no choice. Just sit and wait it out. How you doing?
Pretty good.
What do you make of this? October 4th, all this snow?
I can't believe it. It's incredible.
Well, we're warm. We got everything. We got food. Yeah, we got food if you're hungry.
This is not funny. I heard you laughing from my car.
We have to laugh to entertain ourselves.
Hey.
I'm scared.
Well, listen, I don't particularly like this, but here we are.
When it was all over, we found that Duanesburg took a hard hit from the storm. Not only were accumulations high, but the danger factor on the roadways was still a problem. This was not an uncommon scene. Steve Scoville, the 30-Minute News in Schoharie and Schenectady counties.
We need it bad. Many planned events were postponed today, and a few scheduled for tomorrow have already been put off. State employees who work for the, ironically, Department of Transportation, as well as the Division for Youth in the 84 Holland Avenue building, got an unexpected day off Monday. A transformer fire in the building is responsible. Even though there was no power, the Wiley Gates jury continued deliberations today. We'll have a live report and update a fatal fire when we return. On any other day, the continuing deliberations by the jury in the Wiley Gates multiple murder case would be our top story, but even it was affected by the weather. Phil Bailey is standing by live in Hudson. Phil, that's a place where you haven't had any electricity all day.
Joe, an unusual trial has taken an unusual twist, caused, of course, by the freak snowstorm. Deliberations have ended for the day. The jury is being moved to a motel out of the area with heat and electricity. Why end deliberations so soon? Because they were running out of light in the blacked-out courthouse. Jury watchers waited in the dark at the Columbia County Courthouse. The lights were snuffed out by the snowstorm. The sequestered jurors missed a special mass this morning, but made their way to the courthouse despite a declared weather emergency in Hudson. The fourth day of deliberations passed quietly. Jurors coming into contact with the outside world, largely to accept food and dry socks, and when one juror became ill. The defense argues Wiley Gates did not kill 3 members of his family and his father's live-in girlfriend, but insists if he did, he is insane. And late last night, defense attorney Charles Wilcox told us even if he's acquitted, Gates will be submitted for psychiatric care.
We've discussed this with the family, and the family would voluntarily commit Wiley Gates at that point in time. That is their intention. It was discussed that if this was a possibility in terms of happening, that he would be committed.
Gates awaits word on the trial in his darkened cell, but word of a jail disturbance he was allegedly involved in has come to light. The defendant, who puts on a catatonic pose for the jury, has been written up in a jail incident report for allegedly screaming obscenities from his cell one night, apparently triggered when District Attorney Eugene Keeler, who's prosecuting him, passed by. Joe?
Okay, thanks a lot, Phil. So now it's back tomorrow, and they're going to try again, huh?
That's right. They're being housed, by the way, in Ulster County. That's the closest place they can find with running water, heat, electricity. They tried Albany County. Albany County's all booked up.
Okay, thanks a lot, Phil. In other news, a fire in a Troy apartment building last night killed 2 women. Fire officials today are investigating what could have started this fire at number 89 Ferry Street. The bodies of 2 women were found on the 3rd floor after firefighters extinguished the blaze. The building housed 20 apartments. The fire left the building's other tenants homeless. Troy police have not yet released the identities of the victims. Herb Stevens is going to be back again with more on the weather when we return. Herb is here once again, and Herb, you know, if you look outside from the newsroom and you just look straight out, looks like a beautiful day.
It's great. The sky's blue, the sun is setting, the snow has fallen off the trees that still have a lot of green leaves on them, and it looks fine.
Yeah.
Then you peek a little closer to the ground and you start to scratch your head. This has been a wild, wild day. You'll pardon my casual attire, but I was forced to walk to work from 3 miles away today because there were too many trees in the way. And anyway, my car was in a garage that has an electric door open. I couldn't get it out. Let's take a look at statistics. No, let's go right over here, I'm told. Oh, I'm supposed to go over here. Oh, that's right. They're on this side on the weekend and the other side during the week. The high today was 42, the low 33. Right now, 42 degrees. We're melting the snow. Mostly sunny skies. 31 is the dew point. The wind is from the northwest at 11 miles per hour. The barometer holding steady. Check out this precipitation. 6.5 inches of snow officially, excuse me, with 2.82 inches of water in the snow. We normally have a 10-to-1 ratio. This is 2.5 to 1. This was pure soup that came out of the sky. Now, let's go to the board and take a look at the temperatures if we can. I'll learn this method pretty soon. Temperatures right now range from 33 degrees in Montpelier to the upper 50s as we move down into Pennsylvania. The only station reporting any precipitation, Montpelier. The rain, snow, and what have you at Burlington has ended, and the storm is dying down in eastern New England. The satellite picture shows some dry air working northward, and that has cut off the moisture from working westward into the storm system, and that's why the precipitation in Vermont is starting to really die down, and people are happy about that. It's still snowing hard, though, at Montpelier. That's the only place they have about 5 inches on the ground. The rest of the eastern United States, they don't know what we're talking about. They had a nice day, sunshine, although there were a lot of record lows underneath those clear skies this morning. Now, looking back, what happened? Friday night, I had my eyes on this upper level low, and I said the track of that upper level low is where you're going to find some snow on Sunday. I forecast snow in the hills, not in the valleys. And believe me, I'll be honest with you, it's tough to forecast snow even in the hills when the calendar says October 2nd, and that's what it was Friday night. I mean, we're not 2 weeks past the start of autumn. Anyway, this morning at about 8 o'clock, that upper level low was right over eastern New York. And underneath that low, there's cold air not only at the surface, but there's a nice tall column of cold air, sufficiently cold for snow, and that's exactly what happened, but only underneath that low. It headed northeastward out of Pennsylvania last night. In fact, the snow started in the Catskills around sunset yesterday. Windham had a little snow on the ground when the sun went down, and that upper level low went ever so slowly northeastward right across the Catskills, right across Albany and into Vermont, and that's where the track of the snow was. And at this time of year, a very small, narrow band is all that gets snow. You have to be right underneath the L. You don't look out in the morning and see a red L in the sky, but it was up there. And also underneath that cold air, the air is so unstable, you get thunderstorms. And some of that unstable air swung south of the upper level low, and last night developed a surface low along the New Jersey coast. It developed rapidly. It became a very strong storm. There was a lot of wind with this storm. That's because of the strength of it. And it moved slowly with the upper level storm northward into Maine today. And its slow movement is what prolonged the snow around here. But it's the track of the upper level low that really caused the problems. And it was a freak. A storm like this will occur once every 100 to 150 years statistically in this part of the country. And that's a long time. At least we don't have to worry about another one for a while. The rest of the country had a nice day. As I said, sunny and mild east of the Mississippi, and it's going to be that kind of weather here tomorrow. We're going to have that to look forward to. Southwesterly winds, temperatures up near 60 degrees, and in the mid-60s on Tuesday as another cool front approaches. And when this arrives Tuesday later in the day, it's going to set off showers, and the second half of the week is going to be pretty chilly, but by that time, the snow will be out of here, and all you'll hear are chainsaws. Let's take a look at the details of the forecast overnight. Clearing skies, diminishing winds, very cold. The record low for tomorrow is 26. Don't think we'll make that, though, but there will be frozen slush on the roads later tonight, so if you have to drive, be careful. Sunny and warmer tomorrow, 58 to 63. Southwesterly winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tomorrow night we'll be down near 40 with just a few clouds and I suppose some patchy fog as well because of the moisture. 38 to 43 then on Tuesday, 63 to 68 with the clouds rolling in the afternoon. And as I said, the clouds are going to lead to showers Tuesday night and Wednesday, and that's going to bring cool air back again. And I wouldn't be surprised if some point in the Appalachian mountain chain gets some snow later in the week as another upper level low does the same thing. Don't think it'll be us, but anything's possible.
Thanks a lot, Herb. Of course, you know, a lot of people without electricity, they may as well take advantage of the snow that's on the ground and the cooler temperatures and use things to keep things fresh. And
that's exactly right. If you have a cooler and you're afraid of your food spoiling, take the snow, put it in the cooler, and use it.
Yeah.